Tuesday, February 19th. There's some things that I think would be important, or one thing would be important to do, problems to solve, or to contribute to progress of humanity, but I think that that's long term, and it's probably the most important thing to do for humanity, but long term. But short term, there's a problem of environment getting out of control, where the very survival of mankind as we know it and the rest of life on Earth is in jeopardy, imminent danger. And I think I need to set aside what I would like to do because this needs to be taken care of. Otherwise, the other will not make any difference, probably. And the deal is that the majority of people who are contributing to the problem are individuals within governments, their organizations, criminal and otherwise honest, and groups, and but it really all boils down to individuals, that there are specific individuals who are hanging things up. So, like a centipede, a lot of the legs are not functioning right, and it's going to be the demise of the whole centipede. And we don't have to get all the legs working together at once, but we do need to get a sufficient number of legs working and coordinating together that represent the vast majority of things that are contributing to the disruption of our environment that we provides us with sustenance. So the question is how to tackle this problem, because the crux of this problem is these individuals who are stopping this coordinated effort by others, or as they are the kingpins in the information chain, the implementation of programs, the political influence, directing political influence, directing religious influence, directing criminal involvement in keeping the status quo of environmental destructive influences for their gain, financial, political, etc. So the question is how best to approach this situation, how to identify the most important influencers that, if they are reached, contacted, influenced in some manner, that we can get a sufficient number of these legs working together and that represent a sufficient amount of change. Because in one case we need to cease doing certain things, and on the other hand we need to implement doing certain things. And for instance, there are all kinds of destructive things. Fossil fuels are just should be discontinued as quickly as possible, and renewable and green energy production and methods, etc., need to be implemented right away. The question is how to contact, identify, and influence these key players who are obstructing necessary measures in all ways. Well, that, I guess, is where the thinking needs to start.
So there are two things. One is we have all the energy and renewable resources and technology, if we were to implement it all, start implementing it all, that we could keep the world temperature under 1.5 degrees centigrade increase. Um, the problem is the implementation of it is being obstructed by these individuals. For one reason or another, they're ignorant, they're doing it for money or power, they're getting in the way. They belong to the coal or oil or fossil fuel industry, which is the age of the fossil fuel, like the Iron and the Bronze Age is dead. It's over. It's time to move on to a new sources of energy, renewables. And we have plenty of technology to implement, but we have a huge number of obstructionists in influential positions, whether in government, media, um, organized crime, big business, and their influence needs to be neutralized. Uh, we need to implement renewable resources, but we need to, on the other hand, be defensive and neutralize the influences of these people. And they are people. If there are corporations, they're the presidents, the chairmen, the executives who are obstructing this, just like the tobacco industries did with the saying that tobacco wasn't addictive or it didn't cause cancer, and they just lied outright in Congress and in the press, and that's what obstructionists do. And of course, millions died because of smoking tobacco, and millions are going to die as this temperature increase is causing greater and greater disruption in the environment. And these obstructionists need to be identified, their influence located and tracked, and people to do add a sufficient amount of energy into putting into removing the obstructionist influence. So, if you're one who has the capability, means, and the desire to spend some time, yes, environmental activism is important, but another branch of spearhead of environmental activism needs to be directed towards removing the influence of these obstructionists.